I'm not sure. I want to say it was about 60, someplace in there.
Okay.
You gonna be out here long, or are you leaving
How
soon?
about 20 minutes?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The power of a moral argument, the power of a constitutional argument, is that the Constitution is written so that if one person's rights are violated, that's too many. And the other thing is the intensity. When I hear these ladies from Mount Airy or Watauga or Asheville, people driving 5 hours, what that says to me is folk are not coming here for a moment. They're coming, they know what's going on, they're registering their discontent, but they're also going to go back home and organize. We can say you are not pro-life. Ain't nothing pro-life about you when you're cutting education and you're attacking voting rights, attacking Medicaid, attacking unemployment, and won't let women have prenatal care because they're poor. That's not pro-life.
They want the children to be born, but then they don't want them fed.
Right. That's not pro-life.
That doesn't make sense. We cannot afford to feed our children, but we can afford to make a picture ID for the few people that don't have one, just in case a few people might try to get in and vote under another name.
And here's the power of the move. Now, she's here in the pink. She talking about voting right, and I'm talking about women's right. You see, that's what is different. You can't pigeonhole this movement. You can't say, okay, he's black, and he's going to deal with the voting rights piece, and she's white and with pink shirt, and she's going to do about. She just talked to you about voting rights. I'm talking to you about women being hurt, you know, through the Medicaid cut. And we didn't plan this. That's right.
My belief is when black and white people who have been taught to be afraid of each other or have negative feelings toward each other, and then they do something together and they get a chance to loosen up with each other. It's a repairing of the breach of slavery and Jim Crow. That's the breach in God's human family. If you listen carefully to Reverend Barber, you can tell when he is really preaching from the heart is when he's talking about the church, about the Bible, and about what needs to be done. And I'm not going to let the right wing get hold of Jesus. I'm not going to let them get hold of justice and love and to denigrate it like they do. He believes that anybody who's a Christian should try to repair that breach.
But I've sensed something that's lifted because, and at first, people were glad to be doing something, but they thought it was a gesture. It was like flipping the bird at people who were rolling by in tanks. Well, you know, you might enjoy doing it in a way, but you know it doesn't matter. I think at the beginning, it was just expressing ourselves, and then slowly, and I think now, even people who are not particularly political in their orientation are realizing that this is not the politics of gesture, and that in fact we're getting somewhere, you know, where things are lifting and moving forward in a way that they really didn't expect. Some of these people don't know quite what's happening to them. They just like it very much. I see it really as it's the black church in slavery. It's the church that was born in slavery, the church that met in the deep dark stillness of the night and down by the river in a tobacco barn somewhere, where this kind of distinctive Afro-Christian vision in the South was born, and where the spirituals were written and passed along. That's their deep conscience. I mean, that's the deep conscience of America, if we have one. You know, that's our deep conscience. I think a lot of white people haven't really stuck their finger in that particular electric socket before, and this movement is stirring people who thought they were just activists. If you'd asked them, did you come here to have a spiritual experience, they wouldn't have said that. And then the other people who, they're more comfortable with church than they are with politics, and that they're really coming to this out of conscience. They're nice church folks who have some values that are being expressed here. But they had never done politics before, and it's different when you're acting on love, not just talking about it or feeling it or wishing you could help the poor and downtrodden. it's just something that hasn't happened. I don't know that this has ever happened. I mean, we talk about the fusion movement of the 1890s, but that was so flawed. You know, it was so hard for people to reach across race lines at that time. They did, and that's commendable, and it was a, you know, an important experiment in democracy. But this is something that's never happened. This didn't really happen during the Civil Rights Movement. It was something that people wanted to happen during, but this is far more interracial. It's far more coalition. It's far more, and then it's far more spiritual, really. Now there was that, especially in the early movement. You know, a lot of the early activists come out of the church, or you'll find them. They come out of a college, you know, young Christian movement kind of thing, and then they sort of get political, and you know, then they go join the Student Non Coordinating Committee. But this has never really happened before. So who knows where it goes? I mean, it's kind of irresistible, you know?
So how does this fit into it? What you're seeing?
It's about belonging, you know, in a place where there's a common sense of purpose, but it's deeper than the purpose. It's about belonging. And it's something that people haven't had. You know, we've all been isolated and enraged and depressed, and so you can see people are just like feeding at a different level and getting some community and some affirmation. You know, everybody gets out of jail. We have 700 people arrested or something. You know, it's more than that actually. But these people come out of jail, and it's like it's their debut. It's this. They all have had this really powerful spiritual experience in jail. You ask every one of them, "How was it for you?" And they all say, you know, they may not have those words for it, but actually a lot of them do. They were like, it was so powerful, you know. And it's like, you know, people say that was one of the best days of my life, you know, because I don't know, it's a baptism of sorts. And then they're kind of a hero among the heroes. So everybody sort of stepped up. My grandfather. Sorry. My grandfather used to call it stepping up into the light. Stepping up into the light. And I love the phrase, and it's hard to describe, but where you're not just, you came prepared to do this thing that rationally you knew you were going to do, but then you stepped up into the light because you stepped into the moment and acted on something that was deeply held and something you weren't planning to happen to you in your heart, and that allowed you to do something that you probably thought was a little beyond you. That's the black church in slavery.
Yeah.
That's the call and response.
Yeah.
That's the you know, the polyrhythmic kind of. It's both you hear it. You know, you hear the chorus and people are going, and then you hear the soloist is sort of, and so there's this call and response between the individual and the collective, and then people will step up. A different person will step up and do their. It's the ring shout. It's this stuff is deep in the South.
Stand for justice, women. Stand for justice. Don't cry. Don't cry. Don't cry. Don't cry.
a little taste of the kingdom. This is what everybody's got in their. You're right. I mean, it's just right in their deepest imagination of what it might be if it could be the way it ought to be. I mean, this may pass. We may get crushed. The country may go down the tubes, and our children may grow up in a totalitarian state. It happens. But this is a little glimpse of what people wanted America to be.